So I'm going to talk briefly about a horse called Sportsfield Top Notch, who is an interesting horse of ours. We actually own him ourselves, and we're on a bit of a journey. It's been a journey so far, and I thought it was quite interesting to share our feelings and thoughts towards him. He was a horse that we brought from Ireland as a 5-year-old. We'd seen him as a 4-year-old and really liked him, but he couldn't be brought. And so as a 5-year-old, we saw him again then and did buy him. And he's a lovely, big, scopy, rangy, great type, good breeding, good sort. And he was quite a hardy horse as a young horse, that was for sure. And it definitely wasn't match made in heaven, I have to say, when we first had him. And he was a big horse, and he's got a bit of French breeding in him, and he can really be quite, the contact issue was quite a interesting thing. And he was a big young horse, and I think also when they're big and still weak, the weakness that they can have from behind can quite often come out in the contact. And he ragged me around like a rag doll, I think, for the first winter that 5 coming 6-year-old winter, to the point that I really thought that he was nearly going to be a man's horse or not my sort of horse, because I was just getting ragged around everywhere. And he was quite enthusiastic, but had quite a strong opinion about life, and we were not on the same page at all for a while. Anyway, we came to spring of must have been 18 or something now, it must be, because he's now a 9-year-old. Anyway, Thomas is very disappointed because I can't work out the maths, even though he knows that I can't work out maths. Anyway, a few years ago, when he was 6, and he was ragging me around, and just before I went eventing, I chucked him in the field when the weather got better, and he started living out at night, and went to our first event, and he won it in 100 and felt like a really cool horse. And the combination of probably getting to the end of my tether of like, can I ride him or not, and the weather getting better and turning him out on a night time as a young horse and all those sorts of things, we started to find an understanding. And on the whole, we've had a lot of fun. And he is a horse that really does interest me, because he's a beautiful horse and a really good sort, and he has got all of the ability and attributes to be a 5-star horse. And just some of them interest me more than others, or take different ways of managing, different ways of riding. We're always learning something. We're always having to change our ways or do something just to try and get the best from them. And he was definitely one that definitely did give me more brain work as a younger horse, growing up. And it has been a fun journey. And so I thought this year, he's a 9-year-old now, and as an 8-year-old, I've always treated him a little bit like he is just 6 months behind, a year behind, really, 6 months behind, of just maturing physically and mentally. And it's quite easy sometimes when the form is good, the form is great, that you just think, they've got to be at Blenheim as an 8-year-old in the 8-9-year-old class and classes like that. And I didn't want to do that. He was a horse as a young horse, even in the jumping, I could never get a change out of him. He was a bit hot, and tried to do in the show jumping and his rounds, he would never change behind and always be disunited. And that's when I just found his weakness would come out then in the contact and yoke about, and I could just then lose a bit of balance to not get the best jump out of him. So all these little things I just have kept working and given him the time to think I want him to be an advanced horse when he turns a 9-year-old horse rather than an 8-year-old horse. And just having been patient with his 3 stars and not worrying about his changes until I just got him more established physically and mentally. And even in the ring, sometimes in the show jumping, I would ride the canter to just keep the feel that I liked more and keep him balanced and more settled rather than trying to get the change, which is different to what you normally do with some other horses. And so the winter, once we finished the 3 stars, I had a really good go before he went out on his holiday to try and get some changes started, of which he really started to try hard to get them. So after his winter 3 day, I kept him in for a few weeks afterwards to just work on changes, and he just started to get them and figure it out. So I thought, brilliant, now it can be his holiday. So then he got turned out for his 6 weeks, 2 months holiday in the winter, and has come back in and really tried to keep a grip on it and get them. They're not perfect by any means, but he's really is trying. And as a young horse where it felt virtually impossible and that I was a million miles away from it, I'm just glad that we did it how we did, and he's ready for it now. So I'm now going to talk you through his performance at Burnham Market, which I said I was going to in my Burnham Market vlog, that I will talk individually my way through this particular horse. I wish I'd done it there and then at the time, because I kind of forgotten what happened, apart from just being pleased and encouraged about his future. But anyway, I'll go and find my video and start garbling my way through his performance. So here is his dressage test, which, top of the hill up at Burnham Market with that nice feisty cold wind that was blowing. And I had all 5 of my 4 stars dressages on that day, and they all were done within 5 hours of being there. So I couldn't prepare them in a way that you can at 3 days of bringing them out 2 or 3 times, which is a great thing for this horse, of really just getting him as settled as possible. But I was just, on the whole, delighted here of his just general nice way of going, his breathing. He can be a slightly hot horse. He's just a good horse. He's a competitive horse. He's a professional horse. He's a top horse, and he does just take a bit of managing. He's ready for a job. And just here, I'm just really pleased with how, his medium trots and his way of going. Yes, I'm not riding around here anywhere for that 8, or I'm just really trying to get this horse to establish himself at this level. His medium trots are there, but the braver I am with them at the minute of his stage of his development or his strength, all those sorts of things, is he can be great and really goes for it, but loses rhythm the whole way through. So at the minute, these medium trots and extended, I'm really trying hard just to get him to find a nice rhythm and cadence and try and keep that bigger rhythm with them rather than losing his balance and running for a few strides and going again. So it's all work in progress. And for me, he can be a slightly hotter horse. I'm at the minute just trying to get him. I'm training a dressage test into him. I'm going round trying to think I go in the ring, and I really want to just stay with him. I'm riding him as if I'm training at home. I really want him to just get the belief of riding through a test. Nothing is a big deal, and stay with him and use my experience to try and teach him not to be hot and not to be worried. And a walk is something that definitely, he can go to have a little ear shake, and it's always, put the hat on, because I always used to think, how come something always flies down his ear when I get to the walk? But it's definitely a very slight side that is a little bit hot, and, you know, to respect of it. And so I know that he can get a little bit fragile at the end of the walk to go into canter, and especially at this minute when I'm trying, you know, he's done a lot of learning changes, which was not easy to him, and has been, you know, excitable enough. And he's a lovely horse in the way he's a trier. He wants to please, and that's sometimes half his hotness is he's enthusiastic to try to do really the right thing. So there's a couple of sneezes there to think, okay, am I going to be doing a change? And so it was important to me to just establish, that's it, get a canter half pass, and then move into it to keep the feel. I'm just sort of riding him, holding his hand a little bit, just say, we're doing this, we're doing that. Steady, just try to keep things very clear. Here's the first change. And what a good boy, you know, clean change on the aid, on the marker, and cantering away quite happily for it. This is what, you know, we train for, what we try to, and a proud mummy moment of like, well done. That is his better way. And so I was hoping if one came off, it would be that one, but to get it in the arena without him getting hot afterwards. And this is the one that then is not so easy, and we get a real swing, which at home I keep trying to do the changes that way against the wall or against the side a little bit, to just try and keep a bit more of the straightness. He doesn't find it as easy that way, but I was really pleased. I got it without too much excitement, or I know it was a swing, it's probably going to be a 6, but it was at the marker, it was at the aid, and, you know, it's being realistic in these times as well. And taking, you know, knowing that the effort or you tried and where you're at realistically with your training is, you know, makes it all the worthwhile. But so I was really pleased for it, and he got a score of 29, which actually, like, you know, he was quite up there in the dressage. So I was delighted with that for where we're at and the greenness that he's at. He is a lovely jumping horse. A lovely sit on, you know, he makes a gorgeous shape. He's got plenty of blood to him. He's plenty of go. There's engine to him, and he can jump as good as I have. He can have a rail, and it's always a really annoying rail with this horse, because he sort of has a tap on the way up when he's jumping, and will give the jump 2 foot sometimes when you get your pictures, and it's like, how could he, woof, that was a good one, how can he have that down when he gives it so much room? But sometimes he's just touches it on the way up with his feet, even though he's got a very, very good technique in front. And so it's been a little bit frustrating, I've found, in some of my rounds, that he's jumped as well as he's jumped for a rail down, and good boy there. But on the whole, for his first 4-star, you know, he just looks confident and good, and I was really pleased. Yeah, big pats, well done, puff. He was happy and on it. So the cross country we've moved on to. We've missed the first 4 or 5 fences here, which decided my decision at the water jump. He just started and quite over jumped number 3, which had quite a big drop on it. And he was as good as any through that combination early door, the sundial, which caused quite a lot of problems. And he's a really, really good horse on a line. But like I said, he just jumped the fence 3 big, and the drop took him by surprise. And he just went through fence 4 a little bit babyish, saying, "Where am I going, Mum? What am I doing?" And that made my decision straight away that I would just get this water jump fence done. Good boy, you see his little trot stride, his big jump, which I sort of whoop. Oh, and a slip over there, all just getting a bit feisty. And good boy. He saw, you know, even just try to turn round the barrels to get back there. It wasn't the clearest of fences, and it didn't take any prisoners if you slightly weren't there. And I thought there was enough there going on for him to have jumped through. He did his trot stride. He jumped the one in the middle. to have just given him the time, which doesn't waste very much time, as you saw there, of getting him round to come and see. He's never been a horse to say no, but it was one of those questions that just had to be very clear. He's a good runner, he's a great galloper, and so we just had a nice spin round, thinking this is his first one. I again have used it quite a few times, but I'll ride, lots of pats there again, good boy, he's really on it and trying. And it was definitely with him one of those rounds that I rode him as the horse to be competitive and think, go on, you can have a go, and get his blood up, and is perfectly within his capability, and to get a nice result at his first 4-star, which he did. And so we will start the journey now as an advanced horse and see how the year progresses. But he's an exciting baby advanced horse, so we'll keep you posted.